I don't know exactly what I expected. We didn't really have much time to catch our breath. We found out what on the Friday, and then it was coming out on Monday. So I did actually, I think I didn't want it really to stray too far away from Big Energy, because it is its own, like, I was enjoying it anyway, and it's a good catchy little thing. And I was like, there is room for Mariah to jump on and do things. And I did kind of imagine she would be adding like layers to it, you know, with the background vocals and stuff. So I was kind of expecting all of that. Um, I really, really, and I got that with the background vocals. What I really, really love is when the bit I keep like going around, it keeps going around in my head, is the, you know, Mariah saying "Sweet Sweet Fantasy." Got that big, big energy. It just fits so perfectly. And before we got the remix, I'm kind of, you know, I remember one particular time I was in the gym, and I've always got my headphones in, and I'm listening to all of the podcasts about RuPaul's Drag Race. I listen to them all. I love them, and I just like blast through all the episodes. So I'm in there, and I remember my battery was dying in one ear, so I took it out, changed the other ear. So I was actually listening to what was in the room at the time, and that's when I caught Big Energy again. And I think I just like listen to it for a little bit, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, you can sing along, you can sing "Sweet Sweet Fantasy" over it. So I'm glad that she did that, because I didn't realize, but that's such an itch I needed scratched, and she did that really, really well. I really loved that, and I'm glad that that's the bit that is almost like that's the chorusy bit, and it repeats and repeats and repeats. What I did not expect was for her to maybe go for a whole verse. So everyone's got different opinions, because we've got an old verse from Fantasy, an original verse. I don't say old verse, original verse. That sounds better. It's a classic. We get the first verse from Fantasy, but then the worry was she's going to throw on old vocals, and I wouldn't really want it done in that way, unless it was done deliberately, like a vintage, like almost like scratchy vinyl effect, like. Maybe it starts off like we've sampled the same song as Fantasy, so now we're sampling Fantasy, and then it like segues like, actually, do you know what? No, we've actually got Mariah in, and she's going to do something new with it. They didn't go down that route. They went down the route of Mariah re-singing the first verse, and I wasn't expecting that. And I know a lot of lambs have got a lot of opinions. All I'll say is it just takes adjusting to, because how many times, Taz, you know, legacy lambs here, loud and proud, how many times over the past almost 3 decades have we listened to Fantasy, and it's the first verse, it's iconic. I just know it inside out. So to hear, it's weird when I watch or listen to a live performance, because it's not like the one that's, you know, deeply embedded into your brain. So to hear a new recording, I was like, wow, she did that, first of all. But I'm like, but it sounds different. But of course it's going to sound different. But it just takes some adjusting to. I'm glad she did it. I didn't need her to do it. And if she did do it, which she has, maybe some people say like maybe change up the lyrics a little bit, or just do something. I don't know. I'm rambling. What do you think of the first verse? Did you need it? Are you glad we got it? Would you change anything about it?
For me, I actually thought about that, and I was like, I'd have loved if she came along. You know, first it was, you know, fantasy, I suppose, was back in when she wanted a fantasy lover, you know, like almost like a dream lover come and take me away. It was just like when you walk by every night and whatever. But I would have loved if she had done like kind of like a Mariah can do some sass and this, as you know. And I think if she was like, you know, maybe a shout out to her exes, like all I'll ever be is your fantasy or something like that, like a whole new thing
Yeah.
that we were like, you know, just in the same melody of obviously the first original verse, but just something to for us to go, oh my God, should we did and obliterated all our exes or whatever, you know, that to me would have been, you know, we just got the same. So the minute she kicked off, well, you know, we knew exactly where there was nothing new to it, I guess. You know, there was nothing wrong with it. It was just I wanted, I guess, selfishly more. You know, so
I think it would have been really good for us as lambs to have like some kind of like flip the script in a way. But then is it smart to keep it that iconic, really, really familiar first verse? Because there's a lot of people out there that are listening to Big Energy and enjoying it, but they are naive to the fact that it is it's not sampling Fantasy. It's sampling the same sample that Fantasy made, really, really famous all over again. So I think some people just don't get that there is a link to Fantasy at all. So for her to come on and go, well, I did it this way back in the day, and to give that opening verse just straight, I kind of like think it was maybe a smart choice rather than a creative choice. So, and because her vocals are so like she's there, it's belt, it's there. I actually prefer the rest of it where it's all the blending. And now if I listen to Big Energy, it sounds so sparse, it sounds so empty, because Mariah's the queen of background vocals, as we know, and I really miss those background vocals. And like Big Energy was written, performed, conceptualized. It needed Mariah. It really needed her. So I really would not be surprised, and I do hope that Mariah was the first and only person that Latto and her team reached out to for a remix, because I think it's just so smooth, silky, sexy. I love it. I think it works. What I would change, I wouldn't actually change anything about the first verse. I'm still getting used to it, but I'm glad it's there. What I would change is I'm never really a fan of like shouting, hooting, and hollering over a track. So I don't need DJ Khaled on it doing his thing. But having said that, I do fully appreciate the homage paid to ODB at the beginning. So that's fine. That's cool. Could have done without him at the end. I guess that's the only thing I would change, really, is to take him off of the track at the very end and just do something different with the outro. I don't know what exactly. That's maybe the only thing I would tweak. What about you? Would you change anything?
I think I would actually tweak the very opening whistle. It's not like up in the upper echelons of her register, and it's not, it was just somewhere in the middle, and she can do so much higher, like the original Fantasy, like the little high note you hear as the song's about to kick off. This one was just somewhere in the middle for me, and I was like, look, maybe she's pandering to the mass audience, TikTok crowds. You don't like, there may be commercial reasons that she doesn't want people. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's the reason. I never loved it, even on the teaser. I was like, oh, I don't know about that now, but look, it is what it is. For me, if I was to tweak something, I think I would either grab the original high note from the original and put that at the start. That's the iconic.
Well, I've heard that thrown around. I thought maybe there could have been a clever way. Maybe they threw around some ideas, I don't know, of having like the opening of the original Fantasy by Mariah and then going in, which could have been, they could have used the original. They could have used, ODB from the remix. They could have used Mariah's opening whistle. They could have done different things. I'm sure they threw around those different ideas. I don't know.